And so, looking again from our reading from the book of Daniel, we see another vision that God gives Daniel. We didn't read this, but verse 1 of chapter 7 of Daniel tells us the time. And the time was in the first year of Belshazzar. So chapter 7 is out of chronological order. In chapter 5, which we read that this week, it was Belshazzar that saw the handwriting on the wall. And it was that night that he died. Now, a little footnote, some scholars say he was not actually the king, he was the son of the king. He was a prince. But at any rate, Daniel says that he died that very night, and Darius became the king of the Medes and the Persians. Well, Darius was the one that had Daniel thrown in the lion's den, chapter 6. But now we come to chapter 7, and we go back to a vision or dream that Daniel had in the first year of Belshazzar. So Belshazzar, again, was of the Babylonians, of the Chaldeans. So this is before the kingdom of the Medes and the Persians. We won't go into detail of the animals that he's seen, the beasts that come out of the sea. Often in prophecy, something that comes out of the sea means it's coming from the nations. Just case in point, if you're standing at Tel Aviv and you're looking across the Mediterranean, you're looking at the surrounding nations. And so that was often interpreted as, okay, these kingdoms that come out of the sea, these beasts, are Gentile nations, Gentile kingdoms. And conservative scholars, which I tend to be a little conservative myself, interpret these kingdoms, these four kingdoms, the same kingdoms in Daniel 2 of the statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw. So those kingdoms that are represented here by these vicious beasts are Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, Greece, and Rome. But I want to get to the vision that he saw of our Lord. So again, remember the vision that Nebuchadnezzar had. There was a stone that crushed all the kingdoms, and it grew and filled the whole earth. Now we see this divine kingdom in chapter 7. So Daniel sees one like a son of man. He sees the heavenly court. He sees the Ancient of Days, who is God the Father, and he sees that the books are open, the thrones are set up. It looks, I get the appearance that it's a courtroom scene. And the judge, the Ancient of Days, is in session, and he's served by myriads and myriads. Daniel doesn't say that they're angels, but I think we can be safe to say that they were myriads and myriads of angels. We have his throne depicted. I mean, man, a rock concert could not reproduce this, right? A throne with fire coming out of it and fiery wheels. I mean, that can't be reproduced. But he sees the Ancient of Days. He sees him like an elderly man, hair white as wool. I have to admit that when I see paintings or depictions of God the Father as an elderly man, I kind of cringe, because I think, did he not say, we shall not make any graven images? But then I think about this vision. Daniel saw the Ancient of Days, and he saw him as an elderly man. So I guess that justifies those paintings. But anyway, what does he see? He sees one like a son of man coming. Why did Jesus refer to himself as the Son of Man? Well, it's a prophetic title. Just like he referred to his blessed mother as woman. He wasn't cutting on her. If I looked at my mother and said, woman, when is dinner ready? I'd get a slap in the face. Jesus wasn't dissing his mother. He was using a prophetic title from Genesis 3, woman. He referred to himself in this prophetic way, Son of Man. Daniel sees one like a son of man. Go to Ezekiel. See how many times the Lord refers to Ezekiel as Son of Man. And so Jesus applies this title to himself. Daniel sees the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. Now that ought to ring a bell in your mind. When Jesus stood before the high priest, remember, and he asked him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the living God?" And Jesus said, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man coming the clouds of heaven." Remember when he said that? Well, in Daniel, this is referring to him coming before the Ancient of Days. Jesus takes it and applies it to his coming again, his second coming, and that happens more than once in prophecy, that it's reapplied. But here we don't see him coming again to the earth. We see one like a Son of Man coming up to the Ancient of Days in his courtroom. And what happens? He's given a dominion, glory, and kingship. Nations and peoples of every language serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that shall not be taken away. His kingship shall not be destroyed. Now this is the same kingdom in Daniel 2. That kingdom that was the rock, the stone, that grew and filled the whole earth, the everlasting kingdom. The question that's interesting to me is, has this already happened? Or is this something that will happen in the future? I tend to lean towards the interpretation that it's already happened. Well, if it's already happened then, Father Frank, well, when did this happen? This happened, I believe, at the ascension. At the ascension. When Jesus went into heaven, what did he receive? He received the kingdom. He was escorted to the right hand of God the Father. That's what that means in the creed. If he sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty, he's already king. He's sitting on a throne. The Apostle John sees him already, the Lamb upon the throne. So it seems more appropriately to interpret this event as him entering into his glory, sitting at the right hand of God the Father Almighty, receiving his reward, receiving the reward of his obedience, receiving the word of his humiliation, his exaltation. You see, that's why we celebrated this past Sunday the feast of Jesus Christ, our Lord, the King of the universe. He is the King. Now, he's also the coming King, the returning King. He's coming to put down rebellion in his creation. He's not coming to become king. He's already king. And that's what we see here in Daniel 7. Now, what's interesting, we stopped. It's always interesting to read a little further from the reading because we get some interesting things. And one thing I want to leave you with is he receives an eternal kingdom and he shares it with you and I. Isn't that beautiful? Boy, what a humbling thought. And do we not see this in other parts of the New Testament? If we suffer with him, we will reign with him. John sees this in the Revelation. He sees a kingdom of priests from every tribe, tongue, people, and nation that serve the Lord, but they're also called to reign with him. Just a couple of verses past our reading. We stopped at verse 14. Notice what Verse 18. But the holy ones of the Most High shall receive the kingship, to possess it forever and ever. You see, we will receive the kingship under his reign. Isn't that beautiful? That he will share his kingdom with us. Notice again, the Ancient of Days sees thrones set up. Who are those thrones for? Do you remember that other passage? Jesus told his apostles, you're going to be sitting on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. You remember that passage? Verse 25, he shall speak, that is the beast, against the Most High, wear down the holy ones of the Most High, intending to change the feast days and the law. They shall be handed over to him for a time, 2 times, and half a time. That's not what I mean. Verse 27. After that time of persecution, then the kingship and dominion and majesty of all the kingdoms under the heavens shall be given to the people of the holy ones of the Most High, whose kingship shall be an everlasting kingship, whom all dominions shall serve and obey. Serve and obey the saints of the Most High. As we offer this Mass in honor of the Sacred Heart and asking for his forgiveness for not loving him as we are commanded and not loving him as he deserves, let us also remember who he is. It is the Sacred Heart of the King, the eternal King, who received his dominion from God the Father, the Ancient of Days. And as a part of the love of the Sacred Heart of the King of Kings, he promises he will share that dominion with you and I. We have so much to be thankful for today. So let us give him thanks. Father,